Hello everyone. I welcome you all for a lecture series on organization leadership topics. The topic that we have for today's discussion is types of teams. Its pros and cons. I am Professor Sarita from the Department of MBA, Don Bosco Institute of Technology, Bangalore. Before we start with the topic, let us see what exactly is a team. A team is a group of people with different skills and different tasks who come together on a common purpose or a common goal. Teams are broadly classified into four major groups. The first one is the project teams, self managed teams, virtual teams, and operational teams. Which type of team you need depends on what exactly is the purpose, the location, and the organization structure you are in. So you got to choose which is going to be best suitable for your organization structure. And every team has its own unique plus and minuses, meaning every team has its own strengths and weaknesses. So it is going to be your decision to take which is going to best suit your organization. Project teams are a group of employees who work collectively towards shared goals. Here, if you see, in project teams, the characteristics are like it is very specific, measurable, and a time constrained projects, meaning a 1 month project or even it could be a 2 days project. So it depends on completely on a clear role, responsibility, and proper deadlines. And here there is a lot of informal learning and coaching happening because of experienced and inexperienced people work together. Project teams are further classified into functional, cross functional, matrix, and contract teams. Functional, as the name suggests, teams that are under certain functions like HR or accounts, and cross functional, you have members coming from different functions in a same team, and matrix, they have more than one boss, and contract teams are constrained with the time. It has a certain deadline. That's going to be a contract teams. First of all, let us see what exactly is a functional team. Function team is something what you call it as a marketing team, a sales team, or a R&D team, or a software development team, or you call it as a HR or a accounts team. So depending on which function the team is going to be under, so that is going to be a function team. So the team is under marketing, so it's going to be called as a marketing teams. Sales team, that's how we term it as. So that's going to be in a certain function they're going to work. So what exactly are the advantages and disadvantages of having a functional team? It's going to be very great because there's going to be things they're going to handle is going to be routine tasks. So there are very less chances of mistakes. Line management will take the complete control of the project and it pools a lot of technical and professional expertise. Disadvantages, if you see the communication process, and normally they try to push the decision making process to the upward managers, and the team members do not do that, and it's kind of inflexible. Moving on to the cross functional teams. As the name very clearly suggests, you have your team member coming from different functions from the organization. You have one person coming from marketing team, you have one of your team member coming from sales team, one coming from a development team, or one coming from accounts, or one coming from HR. You have different people, different expertise, different knowledge, different people coming from different functions into one team. That's going to be a cross functional team. Here, if you see what are the plus and minus, as the name very clearly suggests, cross functional teams, you get a lot of people from different functions. So there is a greater speed of task completion and it can handle a wide array of projects and it has a source of unconventional knowledge. So a lot of knowledge you get because of lot of expertise involved in it. But if you see that on the other hand, you have disadvantages too because it takes a long time for people to come together and work as a team. The cohesion takes a long time and management is very difficult for such a kind of a team. And diversity also many times cause a lot of conflicts within the team. Moving on to the matrix team. Matrix team, one person reporting to more than one boss, that is going to be matrix team. Here it is against the Henry Fayol's 14 principles, which says unity of command and unity of direction. It's kind of against it, if you could say. One person is going to report to more than one boss, right? So here it can be otherwise called as two boss system. So individual reporting to more than one boss is a matrix team. So advantages acceptable to managers, it's flexible enough, and top management normally controls the project but they do not much involve in your daily activities. So these are the advantages of a matrix team. But when it comes to disadvantages, if you see, because of dual reporting, there is no way that you can easily assess the person's performance because he is actually reporting to more than one person, and team leader is usually unable to choose who is on the project and who is off the project. It's very difficult to know that. And performance appraisal again is going to be a challenging task here. Moving on to the contract teams. Contract teams are outsourced teams that are tied down by a contract and brought into a complete or a part of a project. So normally, contract teams are based on the request or based on a client's ties with the team. So it is like there is not much questioning or answering, there is no much control within, but it is actually for the client. The contract team, the outsourced team is for the client. They work for the client. So he is going to be finally judging them. So advantages is going to be easy employment of experts because you don't have to pay the experts the regular full-time salaries. You can get them in a contract basis, so you have not going to have a lot of cost to the company, and because they are all very costly hands, a team can use the existing management structure. You don't have to create one for that, and no need for client training and things like that. Disadvantages, as I told you, assessment is very difficult, and resolving political issues are again very difficult, and the client is the only judge of success here. Moving on to the next one, self-managed teams. As the name very clearly tells you, self-managed teams. You do not have a boss who's going to be managing your team. Every team member is going to be their own boss, meaning they need to know what exactly is the work they are doing, what is the time limit, what exactly when are they going to finish it. So they got to self-manage the team. That is going to be a self-managing team. So there is no manager nor authority figure here. So the rules and everything is actually decided by the team members themselves. When setting up a self-managed team, you have to define two different parameters. The first one is the levels of responsibility, autonomy that is given to the self-managed team. So what exactly is a level of responsibility they're going to take, and what is the autonomy? To what extent do they have the freedom in taking any decision? So that has to be very clearly mentioned. Here, the research, we do not have much research study on it to show whether this kind of a teams are more productive. There is no much study on that part, so we have no much idea on that. So moving on to the advantages and disadvantages. Advantages, as I told you, it's going to be autonomy, improves the motivation level of the employee. Team members can manage their own time. So there is nobody is going to ask you what time you came, what time you're leaving, no, these kind of questions. And you don't have to pay for an office. And shared responsibility instills pride in team accomplishments. And lack of hierarchical authority is going to be a disadvantage at times and can lead to conformity. So, because looking for conformity from the team, your individual creativity goes for a toss. So, moving on to the virtual teams. Virtual teams are made up of people who work in different physical locations and who rely heavily on collaboration tools to get things done together. So, virtual teams, if you see, basically they are experts and different peoples. They work from different offices. They are basically on just connected through the internet or technology. If you could see here as an example, virtual teams are people from different physical locations who are not in the same location. They're working together as a team and connected through internet and have conferences through video and things like that. So that's how they manage their team. That's going to be a virtual team. Virtual team, there is a very good example that a company by name WordPress that has a very good base of employing teams virtually. So for this, if you could go ahead and see here, if you see an example of WordPress, over 100 employees in different countries, 43 different countries use WordPress plugin P2 that enables them to communicate with each other in real time. Also, when a new employee gets on board, he receives $2 stipend to improve his home office, gets a latest MacBook, and open time off, and the thing like that. Those kind of policies really make them stand out of the other companies. And it may seem a little far-fetched, but This policy is really a very good one when it comes to comparing to the other companies. Types of virtual teams, if you see, it's based on the time, which time they're going to work, and the space where people work, so which exactly is the physical location they are in, and the culture means which exactly is the culture group they are trying to work for, to whom are they working, what kind of a culture they follow. So that is going to be what the thing that's going to be seen in a virtual team, to what exactly is the people you're going to work. So these things are the main factors you got to consider: time, space, and the culture. And moving on to the fourth one, that's the operational team. As the name very clearly tells you, operational teams are teams that are support the other type of teams that we saw so far. So these teams are otherwise called as back office teams. Back office, in the sense, if you see any banking company and things like that, there is a back office or an operational team who do not actually go into business development or things like that. They just support the other functions, like this kind of like a support for accounting, support for HR, so support for development team. That support function is done by these operational teams. Basically, they manage all the administration kind of a part. So for instance, if accounting department received a task to make an annual financial report by a certain date, they will most likely devise a timeline, delegate tasks, and keep track of deadline, just like any other project team does. So that's all about operational teams. They're just a support function for any other teams. Thank you. Thanks for watching.